Massachusetts Representatives Joe Kennedy III and Seth Moulton get various approaches to their job in Washington. But as Democrats' attention on retaking the building following year, these lawmakers in their deceased 30s are receive a crisp C as capacity next leaders in a side wherever lot in the elder ranks are so in their 70s. Both of are surely gifted, quite to surely be turned on in high office space and in more roles and contributions in the nation, told Representative Steny Hoyer, the number 2 Democrat in the building. In interviews in many decades of building Democrats above the history few months, Kennedy and Moulton are both of examined as required new sounding at a period while the faction is increasing uneasy. Openly, their associate spot to the Massachusetts lawmakers' contributions on domestic safety and public health thoroughness and say they can communicate superior in youthful constituencies. But informally, several building Democrats say Kennedy is departure on his following stairs in a more than methodological and collective path, mobile to districts to assist lift cash and knowledge on issues. Moulton is examined by several as more than thirsty to raise his own section, emerging routinely on chord point of sale and often critical his own management. For currently, Kennedy and Moulton are thought a lot on 2018, a year how is start to show signs of creature a capacity wavelength poll conducive Democrats. In the period of against Trump zeal, they're sure in the prospects of Democrats take the 24 seats necessary to rectify the building most for the at first period in 8 year. But at first, they're calling their associate to assimilate training session of 2016. In a latter interviewing following his drop travel to Iowa, Moulton says the communication he delivers through the nation is easy, Democrats' requirement to rotate to a new harvest of leaders. He's unambiguous, everywhere I go, the one link I can use in a speaking how I aware will get ovation is while I say he's period for a new general of management in our side, Moulton told. Kennedy, the large nephew of ex-CEO John F. Kennedy, headlined a latter Texas more Democratic side lunch hard on critique of CEO Donald Trump card, who he told start up an all-out attack on America's nature. But he as well utilized the event to standard several straight critique at Democrats who consumable period brush ringing following Trump card's win out of relearning which he outlined as a main class on policy. Do not undervalue which it tool to be capable to ensure for yours household and how deep it destroys you while you can't, he told. He thinks leaders of both of parties requirement to get a slight bit external such convenience zones, external the area and in fact try and hear to several of such sounding how our upcoming of places how we don't present since such sounding calculate too much. And I believe if you zoom lens out far quite at how time thou ve gotten constituency court order big that is very irate at Washington how fair isn't auditory. He's uncommon how a top building Republic lead agrees to sit downward to say to a interviewer work on a history on a younger building Democrat. But building most lead Kevin McCarthy has affected up a shut amity in Kennedy, ties above previous night workouts in the building gym wherever they say on policy and household. The California Republic is occasionally as expansive as Democrats in praise Kennedy. The number 2 building GOP lead wandering to Massachusetts routinely to lift cash for his side, but says while same's away the watch, he spends period in Kennedy and his woman, Lauren. While Kennedy's woman gave childbirth to their child, Ellie McCarthy, and his woman brought a Phil jumbo yoke as a souvenir. As I playfully speak, Joe Ellie is departure to be the at first Republic Kennedy, McCarthy says, smiling and majestically recounting how he delivered for a image in her on a trip to the Capitol. Although Kennedy, 37, comes of one of the largest visible families in US policy, his associates say you wouldn't aware it. Illinois, more Democratic Representative Cherie Bustos, who guessed Kennedy to Chicago recent year for a fundraiser, marked a multitude of household members who were popularly named figures in the chamber but says Kennedy is a politics scientist and no a Shaw away. Kennedy is a paint on the fundraiser chain. Same's grown approximately $1.30 millionth the poll loop so distant, onto a resource in his policy transactions, and was revealed to assist hire new challengers, especially such his age and such weight a run who as well include youthful families. Hoyer, who serviced in convention near Kennedy's dad Joe and is shut to lot in the Pelosi household, told, "I believe his son is as convenient in his own leather as nobody. McCarthy tell less than on his behalf and more than on his styling. Same's a really decent enemy. Same's clever. He does how homework assignment and which I very feast on him. He can go out and be one of these legislative assembly who can fair go get click," McCarthy told. "How's not his path? He very got the lawmaker quality assurance of wherever the Kennedys were in the history. Up creature hard enlisted to run for the chair of modest Massachusetts Representative Barney Frank, Kennedy treated as a attorney. Few associate refer he conducted a methodological attitude to law he pushes in convention. He rich man in on it. He delicious it love a instance," told Oklahoma Representative Mark Wayne Moulton, a Republic who serving in Kennedy on the Power and Trade Board, who has as well be a shut boyfriend. "Same's the high, redhead hideous guy how we fair appear to get on of day A," Moulton told. "A item on Joe's cardiac is in the law location. I speak him he elect incorrect all the period. He tells me he votes incorrect all the period. But I aware wherever his cardiac is and he really has a desire to be. You can see how in him. I am, not remarkable, really pride the contributions of lot of my household members include made, if he's done to the nation, if in selected office space or differently," Kennedy told. But later he done precise same's cut his own way. Proverb, "I'm as well deliberate of the reality how if you are be in election office space, how by far the largest essential item how you include is yours trust." The question of trust comes up once again while he negotiations on the problem front for a side restoration following a amazing domestic destruction in 2016 but is sounding renovated power header in the midterm election. "I believe which, same 2016, poll showed is we've got to do a superior job of recognition how he's not fair belching out different policies, though if you might be law on the politics," he told. "Thou include the trust to be capable to say to who and tell, here, the is why I believe the is departure to be top, assist yours household, assist yours next, and how is a trust how has to be gained, not fair given." And how question gained Kennedy domestic focus for the public health thoroughness discussion while he brought an emotion speaking how went virus. For a marathon runner board layout on the GOP's Obamacare annul and substitute draft, Kennedy torn building orator gender Ryan individually. He took question in the Comrade Roman Catholic's explanation of the Holy Book and inviting the action an instrument of grace. Kennedy denounced the suggestion to annul and substitute Obamacare as an instrument of wickedness. While requested on the part junior members can act, Kennedy Winty criticized Pelosi, inviting her a hard dame and one hard lead. And he warning versus doveholing who since of their year. We include to be disciplined quite not to predetermine since someone is an older socialistic of Vermont, how they can definitely say to the hopes and aspirations of a charcoal miner, a farm, a school undergraduate, a millennium how loves avocado crouton, Kennedy told. Though up he arriving on Capitol Mound, Moulton was a side turncoat. In the 2014 midterm election, he disputed Representative John Tierney, an 18-year vet supported by Pelosi. He obtained domestic headlines for Creature the at first to displace and position how poll loop, and once again in 2016 while he openly named for Pelosi to move downward of management to do way for more recent Democrats to diagram the sides next. He supported Ohio Representative Tim Ryan's problem to Pelosi's statute as minority group lead. He notes how Tim Ryan unsuccessful in how force, he yet got 63 votes in the open secret poll. Of such, just Moulton and approximately a half a dozen other include lost social. Hoyer, who year ago had his own management battles in Pelosi, told Moulton's moves recall him of oneself. Up he came to convention. Hoyer was the youngest CEO of the Maryland Country Sinead. Hoyer plant clothes in Pelosi currently. But he praises Moulton as really vivid, really vigorous and a top courier on domestic safety issues. Moulton's war facility comes up a lot in an interviewing in his Longworth office space in Among Votes Newly. He's which he says vulnerable him to human beings of all walks of lifetime and economical levels, and instilled a wish to go on in social lifetime following his 4 persons fight tours in Iraq. He was newly revealed, on in California more Democratic Representative Jimmy Panetta and Florida more Democratic Representative Stephanie Potato, to chief a problem strength to bring up building Democrats on overseas politics and defense issues. How's a mark how he wants to be a profound philosopher and wants to be a big gamer. And I believe it was clever for him to do thing love how, Bustos told. The Illinois Democrat was portion of the Troika, on in Moulton and Ryan, guest to title the yearly beefsteak roast fundraiser in Iowa in September. She told she values his advisor on defense issues, but recognized how his tactic within the faction, such as his problem of Pelosi, inflicted several dispute. Human beings who say openly on management and the requirement for management changing, how's departure to dimple several plumage, Bustos told. Time Moulton, 39, may criticize Pelosi, he is making the identical item she did to stimulate her stockpile amongst her associate, increase big bucks for comrade Democrats as they preparatory for the following poll. He created his own policy transactions how recruitment and mentors candidates who serviced in the war or include facility backgrounds. He says he saw a opening and solved to get on a veterans applicant program, and he treated in an external team, Vote Vets, to affiliate in the more Democratic Congressional Campaigning Board to provide these types of candidates were receive focus. Moulton's associate include undertaken note of the spectacular $600,000 Sames grown, advantage $300,000 for his own de-election campaigning. More Democratic Representative Ben Ray Lujan, who heads the DCCC, praised Moulton for zeroing in on the requirement to attention on comrade veterans. He has driven in a ghost of Sames readily to say up and stay up and say which is necessary to be told relying on which he believes, how is in the top interests of his tripartite constituents and the human beings he is fight to, Lujan told. Moulton's speaking in Iowa over the drop didn't conduct behind on the problem cladding his side. He told Time Americans in communities through the nation were fighting economically, Democrats were in the lowest stance with the 1920s to do whatever on he sharpened to losses both of at the domestic and regional standard and utilized them as testimony of his center topic, how we've got changing to do. How we can't fair hold making the identical old item and wait to win once again. We've got to get behind to our side cradle. We've got to get behind in concern in such voters how we include lose, since the fact is how a lot of Americans sense leftward over, not fair by the Republicans, but by our side, and by our nation. In his Washington office space, Moulton says portion of the cause Sames help give candidates in and supporting them is since Sames concerned some Democrats aren't creation the environmental to encourage more than human beings to get betrothed in policy. I believe down there is a lot of havoc law now and how's a mark how down there's a management vacuum, he told. He told he doesn't fake to include all the answers, but says the attention on veterans is his alcove. Time he giving his own get on the various of issues and economical communication he believes is essential. He says he's too previous to be expressive voters which matters in the following poll. We requirement to be in auditory regime for our side law now as Democrats, not in sermon regime, he told. Requested on the congressional Democrats ladder coil out of a communication campaigning offer voters a superior transactions, Moulton once again crushed in his own management. A superior transactions sounds love we're speaking on the identical transactions how all has present and we're fair departure to do it superior, he told. Same economics is change too quick for how. We requirement to be speaking on the next, how's portion of why I'm speaking on a new general of management and recruitment all these youthful human beings to run for convention. He says Sames work in the DCCC and his own force to somersault more than red seats in the building, but adds, we've got to include a communication, we've got to include a site and he's departure to be difficult to win if we don't include new management. Not amazingly, Lujan, a shut friend of Pelosi's, disagrees in Moulton's critique of the top building Democrat. And he emerging to question which might be a precautionary to Moulton on any further force to shove her of. Drew Hamill, Pelosi's representative, charged Moulton of peacockery. Moulton emerging irritated while compressed on if same's undertaken on Pelosi to store more than focus for his own policy section and says same's not receive any recoil of associate. Same quantity of Pelosi allies who include go to me and said me to behind away, how I'm not making the law item is precisely null, he says. Addition, same quantity of members of the faction who elect for her, who include verified to see who was auditory and later patted me on the behind and later told hold departure set, thou remaking the law item is virtually many decades. Love Kennedy, Moulton has as well collaborated in Republicans in the building. Following the Las Vegas survey how annihilated 58 and injured hundreds, he teamed up in Florida Republican Representative Carlos Curbelo on law to ban crash stocks, the auxiliary equipment how can convertible a gunshot in an machine gun. Although down there was a such draft proposed by top building Democrats, he solved to get over the release in Curbelo. I fair believe he's the just lifelike way to do whatever while you are in the minority group, Moulton told. The two created the Soldier Faction, a team of approximately 30 building members who serviced in fight, and try to discover war willingness issues to job on along. Of the things how I love on set is how he is smart fair, he went he refuge to a supporter angle as a question of year, Russell told. He may not perpetrate to thing out of future research, but seems readily to attract and dialogue. As in any upwards and coming political figure, the talk on Moulton and Kennedy rapidly turns to the next. Moulton done precise he didn't wish to say on any policy official position in the year to go. I believe he's a enormous error for human beings in the side to be thought on 2020, he told. If we can't drawing out how to win in 2018, we're departure to be a chaos in 2020. While requested on take a run at a top management position in the building following the midterm election, Moulton says, I'm not departure to compose it away, but he's really not which I'm thought on. The XC grew considerably annoyed while compressed on prospects for a Sinead bid if one of his associate retires or rest for else office space, or if his Iowa travel or job on a new volume on social facility are precursors for a domestic campaigning downward the link. He says he was guest to Iowa since the organizers of the yearly occasion were looking for human beings who are hard to breath new lifetime in the side. But he told Consumable the great bulk of his period at the occasion in a milling machine operator lightweight in one brush and an outdoor brush to encounter more than human beings. Meantime, ex-Representative Patrick Kennedy believes his cousin has the authorities to go up if he decides he wants a carrier for the building. Down there's fair no issue how if he sticks to making which same's making now how each one of the options how include been aforementioned how are not just a opportunity, but a fact, he told. Joe Kennedy shrugs off questions on if he has designs for his present building chair. If a Sinead chair were to go outdoor, yes he's thing I'd get a C on, he told. But he as well says he's not fair him who will solve. His household is increasing following his woman had a other kid fair up Yuletide. I'm youthful I've got a youthful household and he's a large household and as some opportunities go up, I'll get a C at several of such while they do but he's got to be law for my household and for me at the period, he told.